Welcome in to Palmetto Sports Daily. Welcome in to Palmetto Sports Daily, guys. I'm Carmine Jamay here in Greenville, Kevin Bilodeau in Charleston, Tegan Brown in Myrtle Beach, and Julia Westerman in the state capitol, where we do have a hidden cookie buried in this episode. We'll get to that and Shane Beamer's reference to it in just a few moments. But first, guys, we're less than 2 weeks away from the start of the college football season for both South Carolina and Clemson, and of course, all the teams around South Carolina. Let's get into the Clemson Tigers a little bit. They're bringing back 16 starters from last year's team out of a possible 22, and Kevin just informed me, as the Math Club esteemed member formerly, that that's about 73% of the roster returning as far as these starters. So guys, a lot of experience coming back, and you know, one of the most experienced teams in the country. They're ranked 4th right now, and coming off a season, of course, where they won the ACC championship with the Nolan Hooser 56-yard field goal at the buzzer, and then made the college football playoff the first year of it being expanded to 12 teams. So one of the senior members of this team, Tyler Venables, yesterday was speaking about what this senior leadership means, all the experience with the starters coming back, and how this separates Clemson from a lot of other programs.
The retention that we have, Coach Sweeney talks about it a lot, and just by looking at it, I mean, look at most of the other Power 4 teams and whatnot, look at the turnover rates and look at the retention, and then look at ours. And I think that says something about this place. I think it says something about these guys and these players here and these coaches here. And a lot of guys could have left, whether that was the league or they could have transferred, quite frankly. But guys have really seen what could be here from last year to now, and they've bought into it and they believe in it and they're committed to it. And that's brought an incredible amount of energy, of belief, and appreciation for that commitment by older guys who decided to come back. And everybody appreciates that. But absolutely, there is a desperation amongst this team to really be as good as we can possibly be going into week 1.
Tyler Venables speaking there like the son of a coach, and that's exactly what he is, the son of course, longtime defensive coordinator Brent Venables for Clemson, winning 2 national titles there. Now Brent Venables heading into his 2nd year at Oklahoma as the head coach. And Tyler saying that he will also coach following this season playing for Clemson. So I'm interested to hear from your perspective, Tegan, what do you think about Clemson retaining this many players? Are you surprised given the money that's being handed out to players for transferring these days, or are you not surprised because Clemson has a great program, lots of talent coming back?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, obviously we talk on this show a lot about players leaving for NIL money, for other opportunities at different programs. I mean, you look at some of these players and they've played for 4 or 5 different schools throughout their collegiate career. But I think that Clemson, really great program. I think that Dabo's a really great leader. I think he's somebody who makes people want to stay there. I think he gives them a reason to stay even outside of that NIL reason. And like you said, they're hungry. They want to win this year. They got close last year, of course, the big win in the ACC championship, but falling in that first round of playoffs. I think this year they're on a mission. They really want it. And I think that they have the players to do it. So am I a little bit surprised that they kept this many people? A little, but overall not really. What about you, Kevin?
Yeah, Tyler Venables might be the biggest example of guys staying there because, like Carmine said, his dad is the head coach at Oklahoma. Nobody would have batted an eyelash if when Brent left to take over that Sooners job, if Tyler had followed him out the door and gone to Norman. But instead, he chose to stay here. And I think that a big part of that is the culture around Clemson and what Dabo Swinney has put into this culture with his team. He's not just going out and bringing in the high-priced talent and the best guy at every position. He's very particular about the guys he brings into this program, and he wants people to want to be a part of Clemson before he brings them in, before he starts recruiting them, and before they commit to Clemson. So I'm really not surprised that he's been able to keep 16 starters from last year. These guys are people who wanted to come to Clemson since they were in high school or, in the last couple of years in the transfer portal. So it's a big deal to them to be part of this Clemson culture and stay with Dabo Swinney, Julia.
been a cornerstone of Clemson's program throughout the years, and especially they haven't wavered with it in the NIL era, and we've seen them kind of, acquiescing and kind of getting up to speed with all of this NIL stuff now, but they're not giving up their culture or, the things that they stand for in the process. So I think that's attractive to a lot of players, and that's why a lot of people stay, because that's exactly the type of team and the type of coaches that they want to play for. So I think it's a great thing. It obviously is different for a lot of different programs, but this is something that Clemson has kind of, just stood on for a long time. So it's interesting to see that it continues to work. And I think that's always been a really special part of what works for these Tigers.
And
Yeah,
it's a
very well
special
said,
coach that can
Juliet.
pull
And,
this off too, guys, Carmine, because, Dabo
Right,
Sweeney's a guy that's won national championships. And I think a lot of coaches probably want to build this kind of culture in their program, and they can't because they don't have the track record that Sweeney has at this point, Carmine.
Right. That's really well said, too. And you see the loyalty going both ways, like you guys have all talked about. Look at Cade Klubnik, for example. When he came in as a sophomore, the team was 4-4. Unprecedented for Clemson. I mean, you rarely see that in the Dabo Sweeney era. Heading into that ranked matchup, hosting Notre Dame. This is now two seasons ago. And 4-4, Notre Dame comes in, and they finally turn the season around. They win that game. They win the Gator Bowl, underwhelming by Clemson standards. But he stuck with Cade Klubnik at the start of a year ago. It was like, hey, might as well consider replacing this guy. The transfer portal is becoming a bigger thing. Bringing another quarterback is the national thought. But Coach Dabo Sweeney said, no, I'm going to stick with Cade. You see the season that he had last year, making the college football playoff, and now he's a Heisman candidate once again, just like he was in the middle of last season. So the loyalty goes both ways, from coach to player, player to coach, and you see the staff that Dabo's assembled around him, chock full of former Clemson players as well. So lots of loyalty there within the program. Julia, but how about the other college football program, or we also have high school football as well?
Absolutely. We got a chance to check in with some of the players and Shane Beamer just a couple of hours ago and got to talk to them about their second and final scrimmage over this past weekend. They kind of had to gamble with the weather a little bit, and he was talking about how they had to switch things around, do a lot of stuff in the indoor facility instead of over at Williams-Brice because of lightning and whatnot. But he said he liked how the team responded to those changes, and they were okay with it, and it was a team process that everybody was able to take on together, and it didn't really throw them for a loop or anything. But I would say some of my big takeaways today, there's still no update on Rasul Faison. Beamer did say that he would think that they are in line, because we've seen a lot of these NCAA situations start to get figured out. Obviously, Michigan coming in last week. Now we're moving on to some other stuff with people who are still searching for eligibility. So he told us, he's like, I could get out of this room right now and somebody could call me and ask for another document or so on and so forth. But he says right now he believes they're in line to hear something. Whether that's now or, leading up to Virginia Tech, that still remains to be seen. But something else he talked about, they are really treating this week like it's a game week. And someone asked a really great question about how do you balance, doing a mock game week this week, but also not paying too much attention to Virginia Tech and really spending 2 full weeks on it, overdoing it. He said this is almost like it's a bye week because, you're not jumping right into preparations during the season for the next team when you have a bye week in the middle. So they're trying to get the freshmen and the transfers, used to how they handle these things here at South Carolina, but also not trying to overdo it with the preparation, since Virginia Tech is still 12 days away from now. So it seemed like things are going in the right direction, but the biggest story of the day had kind of nothing to do with football, I would say. A little bit of backstory here before we jump in. The Netflix special that South Carolina was a part of, featured a lot of people around the program, including Shane Beamer's wife, Emily, who made cookies in episode 5, I believe. There was some clamoring online about whether or not those cookies were fully cooked through. Shane came to her defense last week, and now we actually have the proof in the pudding. If we want to come out of video here, I can show you what we're working with. The cookie's here. We just got to come to it, guys. What are we waiting for? There we go. Okay, I'm here. We got the cookie. It's waiting. The little snafu here, I cannot eat this. I am gluten-free. So the good news is I have somebody here who can eat it. And enter producer Nick. Producer
Wow.
Nick is making an appearance
Producer
on
Nick
the show
has
today.
never been so excited.
Producer Nick has
Wow.
never
What an
been
appearance.
Producer
so
Nick has never
excited
been so
for this
excited for an
moment in
assignment
his
here.
life. He's never been so excited to know someone who's gluten-free ever. I'm happy to, be a part of this amazing moment for him. So we are going to get a review, and I will do, the passing of the torch.
Just a little bribe
Right.
to make his first
gonna turn
appearance on
this.
Palmetto Sports Daily.
First things first, it's soft. It is soft, but it feels like it was cooked perfectly. So here we go.
Looked like it
One
had a
bite,
good chew
everyone
to
knows
it,
the
so.
rules.
I'll tell you one thing. Shane Beamer's not a liar. These cookies are incredible. This is my mom.
Incredible.
Has a special place in my heart for her chocolate chip cookies. These are easily top 5, top 3 even. I'll put them in a top 3 for
top
my favorite
three.
Top
chocolate
three.
chip cookies ever. This is incredible.
What out of 10?
Absolutely.
What's the rating out of 10?
I'm gonna go finish this when we go to break.
We need a rating out of 10 real quick, though, Nick.
Put him on the spot.
Give me a 9.2.
9.2.
We're up there. This
All
is
right.
Wow.
Thanks.
Wow,
As
that's
we're
a, that,
transitioning-
wow,
Sounds
that's
like
a
Nick's
great
putting
rating.
down his mom's cookies, really.
Give the camera a closer look at the cookie on your way out here. Oh, the lights are a little too bright, but the lights weren't too
very
bright
bright.
for Emily Beamer and these cookies. We'll be right back.
Oh. Oh.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We shift over to the NFL where the Carolina Panthers playing their final preseason game of the season coming up this Thursday night, a game you can see right here on all your Gray stations as they take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dave Canales, the head coach, has already said the offensive starters will not play in this game despite, I'll be nice, despite looking lackluster in the first couple of games, 2 losses, including last week in Houston against the Texans. Canales spoke to the media today for the final time before that final exhibition game, and today was the final time that the team practicing in full pads in the preseason portion of the year. And apparently there was a little bit of a scuffle towards the end of the practice that might have included J.C. Horn, the former South Carolina star cornerback. But Canales still, I thought with the poor outings they had the last couple of weeks, I thought Canales might have a change of heart and say, I've decided we're going to throw these guys in there for at least a couple series and just maybe see if they can get some momentum going into the regular season. But he stayed hard and fast that they are not going to be playing in that final preseason game on Thursday against the Steelers. Here's Dave Canales.
May have pushed the guys a little bit too hard in the team meeting this morning. They were a little excited today. But, final opportunity in pads for the starting groups who will not be playing Thursday. We had a great move the ball session at the end. It got heated towards the end, kind of going in there. There were some unbelievably physical plays, some hard runs, safeties showing up, some great rushes. And they just kind of were in a competitive moment. Tempers flared. We try to push the guys to the edge. We went a little bit over. But at the same time, that's the edginess we have to play with. When we have these opportunities, we have to be able to play a physical style of football. And sometimes it goes a little too far. I'm going to talk to the guys this afternoon. It's like, okay, now when you throw a punch, you're gone. So then all of a sudden, where are we at? Where does the rest of the team sit, when that happens? So good teachable moment right there, but a fantastic day at work.
Is there a matter of safety?
Canales also said something interesting that he didn't call the plays offensively for the first 2 preseason games. He let one of his assistants do that, just so he could kind of get a feel for what that person wants to do in a game situation. But now Canales is going to call the plays in the final exhibition game, despite the starters not playing. Julia, I went over this yesterday. I don't get it at all. Bryce Young has not looked good in the preseason. He had a little bit of momentum towards the end of the regular season last year. It seems like this is the time you want him to get rolling a little bit. There's decisions to be made about him going forward. Carmine, I'll come to you first. Just your thoughts on, again, the starters not playing on Thursday and Canales' reasoning for it.
Yeah, completely disagree. I'm on the same page with you, Kevin. I don't understand. We were talking yesterday about Dave Canales saying the starters needed to earn another series. Well, didn't they earn another series by actually playing poorly enough to need that more practice to head out there again? I mean, Bryce Young only threw 2 passes and completed none of them in the last preseason game. They've scored 13 points in the first 2 preseason games, while their defense has given up much more than that. And also, great point that you brought up there too, Kevin, is that Dave Canales has not built that chemistry in the preseason with some of these starters and offensive players that, you know, you have quite a few new guys. Rico Dowdle, the Gamecocks running back, now on the Panthers. You have Hunter Renfrow, Tet McMillan as wide receivers, and other new pieces as well. So I just think it's a big lost opportunity. And thankfully, they're playing with that edge because they should be angry of how they've played for the past few years and this preseason so far. Julia?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to play a little bit of a comparison game here because, I mean, if you look at some of the other teams around the league, if you were to look me in the eyes and say Patrick Mahomes is not going to play any of the preseason games, I would say, okay, that's fine. I think they'll be fine. You've got the Bills who, you know, don't score any points and everybody's melting down. I'm still not concerned about the Bills, really. But, you know, a team like the Panthers where they're not coming off, you know, this stellar season with all of these, you know, great chemistry pieces, everybody clicking. I mean, yeah, they kind of ended off this season in a better spot than they were before, but you're not seeing what you want to see heading into this season, and then to only see Bryce Young and his guys in the first team go for 4 total series across 2 games, and that's what you're going into the season with. I'm not comfortable with that personally because, you know, you want to see growth out of Bryce Young and a lot of these new guys that you've brought in to make him look better. And I struggle with this decision to, you know, only play them as limited as they have so far and then also not play them at all in this 3rd game. Tegan?
Yeah, Julia, you know, a lot of times when we're talking about the preseason, we're saying these games don't matter. You know, you brought up the Bills. The last time the Bills had a preseason loss this bad was the first year they went to the Super Bowl. So definitely not concerned about them. But going back to the Panthers, you know, I think we do need to be concerned at this time with these preseason games. I think that we should be playing the starters. I want to see Bryce Young out there getting practice in because pulling him after those 2 drives and the performance that we saw, I have a very low level of confidence in the Panthers. I think we should be giving them, the starters, some more time out there. I need to see what they're capable of. I think Canales needs to see what they're capable of, Kevin.
See, I'm not sure if Canales understands how quickly things could change in this situation. I'm not saying he's on the hot seat going into his 2nd year, but like I said, there's decisions to be made about Bryce Young after this season, if he is the guy. And if he's not the guy, you know, does the team just clean house and get rid of Canales and bring in a coach to let him pick his own quarterback and try to go from there? So I'm not sure if the sense of urgency is there as much for Dave Canales. At least he's not showing it, that I think as a Panthers fan, I would want there to be going forward. We've got more to talk about here on Palmetto Sports Daily coming up right after this. Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We move over to baseball. We haven't been talking about the Braves too much lately for good reason. They're still 10.5 games out of a wild card spot in the National League, and last night suffer another ugly loss, 13-9 against the White Sox. But what I wanted to talk about today was Spencer Strider, who has really struggled the last couple of weeks, including last night. Goes for just 3 innings, gives up 10 hits and 7 runs in that loss to the White Sox. They got down early. The Braves actually made a nice comeback before coming up short late. But his last 3 starts, he's given up 20 runs and 7 home runs in 11 2/3 innings of work. Of course, Strider coming off an injury that cost him almost all of last season after having an amazing year back in 2023. So, guys, what I want to ask you, are we going to see the Spencer Strider of 2023 ever again, or is he going to be a different pitcher going forward? Start with you, Carmine.
Well, Kevin, it seemed like he was on that track after, getting warmed up, coming back from injury, pitching well after like maybe 4 or 5 starts in. But now you look at his record down the line, and he's 5-11 or 5-11 5 wins, 11 losses on the season. And I commend you for still following the Braves, because the second we stop talking about them, now they're actually winning some games, and it seems like maybe building some momentum into next season, because extremely unlikely they'll make the playoffs now as the wild card, like you said. But what do you think is diminished with Strider? What's the cause of his, regressing back to what it looked like when he started coming back from injury early this year?
I have no idea. I mean, I don't know if it's a situation where the league has started to catch up to him. They didn't have a chance to see him last year. They could have studied him a lot after that 2023 season and seen something to go, okay, this is where we're going to get this guy. And we didn't get a chance to see that last year because he was out the entire season. Like you said, he had stretches after he came back this year where he looked like the Spencer Strider of 2023. But at 5-11 this year, I mean, that's just not going to cut it for a starting rotation guy that the Braves need if they're going to make a postseason push in years to come. Julia, your thoughts on Strider?
I think this is a tough point in the year where, a lot of people are losing motivation for this team. I mean, fans, and you got to wonder what's going on within the clubhouse at this point, because you're probably not going to get even close to making the wild card. So at this point, I feel like you just really want to, get him back to where he used to be. And I almost wonder if that's just going to take an entire off season of work to get him comfortable again. I don't even know if it's a situation where he feels like he is uncomfortable and this is just what he is going to play like now. So it's a tough situation to be in. Of course, how good he can be. So, you got to believe that the Braves and Braves fans really want more from him, Tegan.
Yeah, you're talking about what's going on in fans' heads, but it's really to the question of, what's going on in his own head. What's he doing off the diamond to kind of maybe get back there? Is it going to take that off-season work? I just don't think we really know right now. I honestly don't think we'll even know by the end of the season. Maybe, guys, if we just stop talking about the Braves again, they'll get better like what happened over the past week and a half. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll kind of have to see, but at this point, I think it's a big old question mark, Carmine.
Yeah, and Julia, hey, how about the question marks or still things up in the air in the Little League World Series for that team from Irmo?
I know, big, exciting day for Irmo. Of course, by the time that this show airs, their second game will have gone all the way through. So this is talking about their first game yesterday against the team from Nevada. That was an awesome game to watch if you love defensive baseball, you love good pitching. It put on a clinic, and Joe Giuletti, their pitcher, he pitched a no-hitter in his 6 innings of work, and it really is a shame that him and Gallegos from the other team, they were not able to finish out the game because of pitch count, and it went to extras, so somebody else had to step in for both of those teams. Of course, Nevada got the edge. They got the 1-0 win in 7 innings, so now Irmo has to face the team from Hawaii in the elimination game. That's today at 3 o'clock, so by the time that this show airs, of course, it will be through. But we, of course, will talk about what happens with Irmo tomorrow on Palmetto Sports Daily. Hopefully, it's a win, and they continue on in the Little League World Series. So good luck to Irmo, and, we'll see what happens on the other side. We've got more coming up after the break.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. As we get into football season, we're also getting into the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Of course, the playoffs are going to kick off in Darlington with the Cookout Southern 500 during Labor Day weekend. So a big weekend out there, but tomorrow, Shane Van Gisbergen will actually be here in Conway for a little press conference. He's also going to talk to some of the Coastal Carolina football staff. And then, guys, get this. They're actually going to host a go-kart race between Shane and then some of the Coastal Carolina athletic football staff. So I've heard head coach Tim Beck is going to compete, some of the athletes. So if you guys are placing your bets on either the NASCAR driver or Coastal Carolina head coach Tim Beck, who are you going with, Kevin?
Ooh.
I think Tim Beck has way more to race for in a situation like that, so I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, he's got to prove it. He's got to prove it to his guys. I mean, come on, coach, you got to come out on top. Make sure you wear that seatbelt. And much different racing the go-kart than the NASCAR car, Julia.
I know. I gotta believe there's some sort of edge for Coach here. Just it's a different car, sort of different situation. I'll give it to him. Why not? He's got to have some people behind him. So why can't it be us?
Yeah, exactly. I think they'll have the biggest crowd there. I've heard that there are going to be some other Coastal fans there watching, interacting, cheering them on. So super fun for them. And, of course, we'll have more on the show tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get a winner circle speech from Tim Beck or from Shane. Who knows? But anyway, we'll have more tomorrow right here on Palmetto Sports Daily. Have a great day, everyone.